This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour being brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 to 15 Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory. With the Sunbury Motors guarantee, they go over every vehicle on the lot, and a terrific service department. Quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Joined now by the outstanding Adam Rittenberg. Adam, welcome back to the show. I hope you and that great family of yours are doing so well.
Doing great, Steve. Great to be with you, and obviously an exciting time of year. So
it is an exciting. But can I ask you just very quickly, just a couple of basketball points, then I'll get to football. The Big Ten's on the men's side is going back to 18 teams in the conference tournament. What's your thought on that move back from 15?
Yeah, I like it. I know it's an extra layer today, and it's certainly logistically maybe not the easiest thing to do, but I just think if you're in a conference, you should be able to participate in the conference tournament. And it's kind of a coming together of all the different fan bases and teams and coaches and players. And so I get it. Some people say, well, this hurts the regular season even more. But, I just haven't liked, teams that don't even get to play in a conference tournament. I mean, this is a sport like all of them where the athletes spend a lot of time. There's a lot invested. And part of that is being able to experience some type of postseason, even if you're not on a particularly good team. So I like it. Hopefully the women's side gets there as well. You're in a huge league, so I know it's a challenge, but I thought it was a good decision by the Big Ten.
Completely agree with every word you said all the way through, including I'd like to see the women go to the full 18 as well. The one more question on this part of it. When they released the schedule, there were no tip-off times. We know in football over and over again there are no kickoff times except for a few games here and there that are sprinkled in. Professional leagues, which have more teams, more games, 84 games NHL, 32 teams, 82 games NBA, they have 30 teams. Why is it that it's not just the Big Ten, it's every conference? Why is it on the college side they can't do this ahead of time? The basketball season starts in 45 days.
I know. Yeah, it's frustrating. As someone who does go to a lot of college basketball as just more of a fan than anything, until I start covering the tournament, I wish there was more of an advance, scheduling and times, and you could really start making your plans. So, but this is how they've done it. I mean, honestly, you go back years, and typically schedules are announced in September, and obviously when you have multiple media partners, that adds a layer of complexity, and there's such a focus on football. So I'm not saying it's great or helpful for fans or for any of us who are around the sport, but that's just kind of how it's been.
All right, so now I want to get to the season to this point. How important is it now for the Big Ten in terms of the depth of the conference that Indiana-Illinois Saturday night's a big game?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be at this one, and I think it's a game that certainly Big Ten fans will pay attention to, but I think it's also a game, Steve, that people around the country are going to have their antennae up for, and they should. This is what the 12-team playoff is for, that, hey, yes, when Oregon and Penn State get together next week and you're calling the game, everyone's going to pay attention to that because of who the brands are. But Indiana made the playoff last year. Illinois is in the top 10 and trying to get there for the first time in its history, and I think the winner of this game is going to really have an exciting opportunity ahead. And just to warn people, it might be Indiana, and you might need to get used to Indiana being really good again, because I think they are. And in talking to Kurt Cignetti this week, I could tell, and I've gotten to know Kurt pretty well here the last couple of years. I can tell that he wanted to say more than he could because he wants to see how the game plays out. But as you know, he's not a guy that lacks confidence, and I think he has real belief in his team, but he understands as well that they are going to be facing a much bigger test in the Illini, who, again, retained really good players from last year's team, had some supplementary transfers at wide receiver and elsewhere to help them out. And they have one of the better quarterbacks in the country, in my opinion, in Luke Altmaier. So,
yes.
Again, I hadn't been to Bloomington, Steve. I think it was between 2012 and last year, and now I'm going in back-to-back years. So that just shows you where Indiana's program is under Kurt's leadership.
That's where I give Altmaier a lot of credit. 2 years ago, he had a disastrous day against Penn State. He threw 5 interceptions. Since then, he has been so sharp and clean with the football. It's been outstanding. Kurt has depth at running back, but how big a loss is Beebe, the tailback, for the season?
He's definitely a loss because he was part of a running attack that's averaging more than 300 yards a game. But they have other backs, and it was never a running game that was designed for one guy to have 35 carries. It's probably going to be a little bit more like Penn State, where you're going to have 2 primary guys instead of 3 primary guys going forward. But that's certainly a loss, and certainly puts a little bit more on the shoulders of Fernando Mendoza, their quarterback, in the passing game. Illinois is dealing with an injury of its own, which I think could really impact this one.
Yep,
in Xavier Scott, the first team All-Big Ten defensive back at that nickel corner spot, looking like he will not play. So that hurts against guys like Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr. Omar had a huge game last week against Indiana State. So both teams dealing with a little bit of an injury issue, but there's still a lot of talent on that will be on the field on Saturday night.
And then another game that that you and I won't be at, but we'll watch. That's Rutgers, Iowa. Rutgers is 3-0. Iowa's 2-1. And again, I think more and more of these games to me are showing the depth of the conference.
Right, and again, Rutgers is one of those teams that so far so good. I mean, they've been dominant, putting up big yardage totals. I really liked what they did defensively with some of the transfers they brought in on the defensive line. And that's shown up so far. They're going to be at home against an Iowa offense that's still trying to find its way. I think Iowa really was hoping that Mark Gronowski, the quarterback transfer from South Dakota State, would kind of give them that surge in the passing game that they really have been looking for the last few years. And it hasn't happened yet, but I still think he's a guy to watch in this game tonight and going forward. But it just feels like if Iowa drops to 2-2, it just feels like they're going to be kind of out of the mix in the Big Ten. I know that Iowa State's a good team. That would be a road loss. This would be a road loss. But given what they have on their schedule and some of the issues that have shown up so far on the offensive side, I really think this is a very, very important game for the Hawkeyes to get a win in the Big Ten and get a win on the road.
Am I one of those few people that's looking at USC and saying, you know what, they're starting to get pretty good, and I think in part because I think they're starting to run the ball more. And Michigan State, that's going to be a good game because I think Michigan State's not bad, especially on the offensive side. What's your thoughts on that one?
Right, yeah, I agree with you on USC. It was a much more quiet offseason because they weren't as active in the portal than they had been in the first few years under Lincoln Riley, adding Caleb Williams and others. But I think they made some interesting pickups that should really help them. And one of them is Wayman Jordan, who's leading the team in rushing, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging nearly 100 yards a game. And they have some other options in the backfield. Eli Sanders is an explosive player. And so it's not all on Jaden Mayava and that passing game. And we know they have talent at wide receiver. That's probably their most talented overall position. So the balance in the offense is encouraging. Defensively, they've been solid there with Danton Lynn leading that unit. But they played well at home. Even the last couple of years, they've been a tough team. Penn State found that out last year. Fortunate to get out of the Coliseum with a win. And I think, again, and I'm not, the West Coast teams won't feel bad at all for this because they have to kick off a lot at 9 a.m. USC has got to do so next week at Illinois. but having the game at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern is a massive advantage for USC. And so everything is pointing towards a USC win, but you mentioned that Michigan State's also improved. Aiden Childs looks better at quarterback. They've made some nice moves in the portal to help him at receiver. Jonathan Smith, I think, is a terrific coach. So you could certainly go Michigan State's way, but that would be a tough loss for USC given the way that they've started the season, how they've played at home, and certainly when this game is kicking off.
Well, it's interesting when you look at Lincoln Riley's history, going back to Oklahoma, they consistently were right around 3,000 yards rushing per year. I know the focus, it's on Kyler Murray, it's on Caleb Williams, it's on Baker Mayfield, but they were right around 3,000 yards a year rushing. Last year was 1,700. It seems like he's gone back to his roots of more balance.
Right, and that's important to point out, that everyone thinks the air raid is Mike Leach's version, which was tossing it around a lot and using those short passes essentially for runs. But Lincoln has been celebrated as an offensive guru and play caller because of what he does in the run game. And I remember seeing this in 2023 when Caleb was still there, Steve. Marshawn Lloyd, I thought, was a terrific player for USC. He averaged over 7 yards a carry, but didn't get the ball very much. 116 carries in 11 games. You do the math. That's not a ton. And I thought he should have had more opportunities to attack defenses. Austin Jones as well was a pretty valuable back for them back then. And they just, because of Caleb perhaps, or maybe just the strength of their team, they went away from the run game maybe more than they should have. And now it does feel like it's a bit more balanced, and that served them early this season. And, I think that should certainly continue against Michigan State, which, has had some ups and downs defensively, but it's been able to get through these first few games with wins.
I have to ask you about UCLA because the firing of Deshaun Foster, like the one at Virginia Tech with Brent Pry, occurred after the third game, which means it occurred before the fifth game. That's important because if you play in the fifth game, your eligibility for that season is gone. When Mel Tucker went away 2 years ago, 8 players at Michigan State ended up transferring out during, they didn't go anywhere, but they announced they left the team. How precarious is the UCLA situation because of that?
Well, it's certainly something to watch. And, Tim Skipper, the interim head coach who was in a similar role at Fresno State last year, is trying to keep this thing together, at least until the next game, which is at Northwestern next week. It's a winnable game for UCLA. Maybe they get on track. Maybe they can still turn things around. But I think those players also have to, if they are thinking about transferring, what you laid out is important. That you play in a certain number of games, it's going to be a lot harder for you to regain that year of eligibility, if not impossible. So it's something to watch here with the Bruins, and if they were to struggle next week, and it's more of the same that we saw in the first 3 games, perhaps we'll start to see some of that movement. I think it's naive to think there will be none. We've already seen a number of recruits decommit from UCLA. They actually were recruiting pretty well under Deshaun Foster. There really was seemingly some enthusiasm there after bringing in Nico Amaliava and others in the portal, and that's obviously all gone away with the way they started the season.
I do want to ask you about Oregon. They've got Oregon State this week. You and I both know they're just a tremendously talented team in so many different areas. What do you like about that team to this point in this new season?
Yeah, I saw them play. I was up at their game against Northwestern just for about a quarter or so before I drove down to Notre Dame, and I really liked Dante Moore's approach. He's a guy that isn't really known for mobility, but he has some of that, and he's made some pretty good decisions, hasn't turned the ball over, and they have a lot of options at receiver. You have the Corian Moore, who's a young guy, is really impressive, top 10 recruit, and they have some older players. So they can attack you with different guys. They're not overly reliant on one running back. The offensive line is strong, and they're really pretty solid on both the offensive and defensive lines. And so it feels like a team that might be a year away from maybe winning a national championship or truly competing at that level, but maybe they're ahead of schedule with some of these younger players, and even a guy like Moore, who was a big-time recruit, but hasn't played a whole lot since the 2023 season after transferring in from that UCLA team we were just talking about. So, again, Dan Lanning does a great job. He's got a terrific coaching staff.
Yeah.
They have had great continuity on their staff. Visiting with Will Stein, their offensive coordinator, before the game last week, you can just tell how much they enjoy working together. And, Dan's really, for a first-time head coach, done a great job of sort of establishing his leadership style. So I really like that program. But again, looking at the next week's game at Penn State, Penn State has some experience advantages, has some, obviously home field advantage. And so I kind of like Penn State in that game, but Oregon has a lot of different things that have going for them. But I think they'll almost be an even better team in 2026.
Yeah, and that's amazing to think of because they've got a lot of talent on the team now. What I'm impressed with more is this: when he was at UCLA, turnovers were an issue for him. He goes to Oregon. He does have to sit behind Dylan Gabriel, but he looks like a more polished product now because of everything he's been through, and maybe even because he sat last year.
Right, and I think I saw that last week. Wasn't throwing a lot of. He did have an interception at the end of the game, but really wasn't putting the ball in harm's way very often, and made some good throws on third down. And again, they haven't seen a defense like the one that they'll see next week, and they won't see it this week from Oregon State. Oregon State is a really struggling team right now, and I know that might not matter in a rivalry game, and Oregon State and Trent Bray will have those guys as ready as he can, but this is not a game that Oregon should have a whole lot of problems with. But next week is a different story when you have Jim Knowles and that Penn State defense coming at you. It's going to be a really, really exciting chance really to gauge where both teams are because, what do you really take away from what we've seen from Penn State? Oregon's maybe been tested a little bit, but certainly not what they'll see next week.
Adam, always a pleasure. I assume I'll see you at some point next week. I'm sure that's a game that's on your radar, right?
Yeah, I'm actually home next week just because of some family things going on, but I will certainly be watching and hope the call goes well, and it should be a tremendous weekend of college football.
Oh, by the way, if it's a family thing, you know how much I approve of that, so way to go. I love your priorities. Adam, as always, my friend, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
The outstanding Adam Rittenberg giving us a rundown on the weekend of college football. Yes. That old line from Roy Firestone. You've heard me tell that one before, right? The impersonation he does of
yes.
The impersonation he ends up doing of Keith Jackson. College football. What does college football mean to me? Oh, about $5 million a year contractually. It's like, okay. Well, we all love college football, and it means a lot to so many people out there. And we run down these games, and I feel like the Big Ten is giving us some great games that are maybe under the radar to watch for. A lot of these games over the years have been like, all right, Indiana's playing Illinois. Look, Indiana and Illinois may have played meaningful games against one another that meant something to them, but nationally didn't have a lot of meaning. In other words, it may have had great meaning because Illinois is having a great year. Okay. So they have to play Indiana. There have been a few years where Indiana was playing great and Illinois wasn't. Now you've got both teams playing well, head-to-head. And that's what makes tomorrow night's game, to me, so intriguing, because now I think maybe for the first time they're both playing well at the same time, and I think it's a terrific game. Rutgers, Iowa tonight. Rutgers is 3-0. They haven't exactly played Murderers Row. We know that. Iowa had to play at Iowa State because of the Cyhawk series. How good are these two teams? Games in Piscataway. I think, there's like intriguing stuff out there. Yeah, USC, Michigan State. Now, what genius thought 11 o'clock at night Eastern time was great? I have no idea. Because that game is not kicking off at 11 o'clock. It's going to probably kick off at 11:08 or 11:10. So you're going to have a lot of people in the state of Michigan at 12:30 in the morning when the second half starts going, Okay, hang in there. Hang in there. I mean, that's just wrong. Oh, jeez. Wow. Oh, well. But there's some good games. And that should be a good game, by the way. All right. We'll take a break. Back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Fall in Central PA means hunting season, football games, and tailgates. Make sure you're rolling up in a brand new Ford from Sunbury Motors Ford. Over 30 2025 Ford Explorers are ready to roll with discounts up to $6,200, starting at just $38,530. 16 2025 Ford Escapes are here with prices slashed up to $9,000 off. Priced from only $26,770. That is Sunbury Motors Ford's lowest price ever. And for truck season, over 70 Ford F-150 F-Series trucks in stock with discounts up to $10,416. That's right, a brand new F-150 for under $45,000. Load up for the big game, gear up for hunting season, or just hit the road this fall in the Ford you've been waiting for. Sunbury Motors Ford, the North Forest Road Auto Plaza in Sunbury and at sunburymotors.com. Run by the Mertz family for 110 years.
Hey, when's the street fair this year? You mean the 46th annual Selinsgrove Market Street Festival? Yeah, that. Yeah, well, it's happening on Saturday, September 27th from 8:30 to 4 p.m. with lots of shopping, food, fun, and music, as usual, right in the heart of downtown Selinsgrove. The Selinsgrove Area High School Marching Band kicks off the day, followed by live performances from Selinsgrove Dance Studio, Burns Taekwondo, and more entertainment all day long. They'll have around 160 or more vendors featuring handmade jewelry, local honey, crafts, games, civic groups, and exciting new stands to discover. Kids will love the petting zoo. Plus, there'll be plenty of family fun for all ages. But the best part is the delicious food, of course. And don't worry about parking. Free parking and shuttle services are available at the Selinsgrove Area High School. So mark your calendar, Saturday, September 27th. See everything about the Selinsgrove Market Street Festival at selinsgroveprojects.org.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Down the stretch we go, brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, the best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. 6 great flavors of slushies. Ready-to-drink cocktails. High Noon, Jack Daniels, Crown Royal. And the pickle bar led by the Barrels and the Dills, indeed second to none. All our Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Yeah, kick back, relax this weekend. We do have the King, right?
We do have the King. He's with us now.
This is a very quick, before we get to the King, NFL domination. NFL games have been ranked as 13 of the top 15 shows on TV since the start of the season. Viewership is up 4% from last year at this time. It is up 17% from 2 years at this time. The Eagles and the Chiefs game drew 33.8 million. The Cowboys-Eagles game, 28.3 million. Baltimore-Buffalo, 24.7 million. Detroit-Green Bay, 24 million. And the Bears and the Vikings drew 22.1 million fans. Wow.
Jimmy Kimmel draws 1 million.
Well, yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. But that is domination.
Go.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's no need to talk about that. You have to know who you are and what your lane is. So I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave it just to leave it at that. Know who you are and what your lane is. The domination is incredible, and I know the Patriots, of course, have the Steelers this weekend, and that will be a draw.
I think fantasy football and gambling and things like that have really raised the bar.
Yeah. I think there's no doubt about that. I've talked about fantasy football many times on the show, that I don't play it at all and have no desire to play it, like none. But I know so many people, including yourself, that do. And what it does, it doesn't just make you interested in your team that you love, but you start watching other games because you have players on other teams involved in your fantasy football team. Is that fair?
You only look at your phone. You don't even watch a game. You're just watching what your players are doing all over the place and then making yourself crazy. I don't put my phone down from Thursday till Monday night, and I'm not a phone guy, but I'm following what my players are doing, and that you end up not even watching the game. It's hard to explain. I wasn't going to play this year because of it. It's only my second year, so it'll make you crazy. You're sitting there and like last year, I'm watching Jalen Hurts, and he was my quarterback, and he puts up 4 points in the first 4 minutes of the game. I'm like, I am rolling here. By halftime, he still had 4 points. Well, he had a concussion. So once your quarterback is hurt, that's it, and your points stop.
It's
Todd, frustrating.
I don't think, Todd, you and I have really talked about it that much. Do you play fantasy football?
I do, but I've cut way back. I'm in one league that I've been in a keeper league for the same league for 25 years.
Okay. All right.
But that's the only one I play in now. I know a couple guys that are in 7-8 different leagues.
Oh, I could not do that.
Well, they also play a version where it's a full season, like from so you have football players, basketball players, baseball players. I have some friends that really get into it.
Oh, I would make myself crazy doing that. I'm fine with this, and I got one of the guys here. He's playing in the league too, and so it's fun. I like during the week with the free agents because you can change your team and you can add free agents, you can trade, I like that part of it. Game day, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that idea I don't want to lose, so I got to get over that. So
wow, all right, there you go.
It's whoever set this up, it is refined. I mean, it is really good. And it follows every player, everything they're doing the entire time. Todd will tell you, it's really good.
No, that's great. And then and I also think the games have been, to their credit, very good.
Yeah.
The pure games themselves have been pretty good. Even last night, I watched the Buffalo-Miami game last night. To the credit, the Dolphins didn't win, but they played really well, and they made it a fun game in the fourth quarter.
Well, this is how fantasy football works, right? I'm watching, my opponent had Josh Allen for a quarterback, and he's running, and he could have run for the touchdown, and he pitched it to the tight end, and the tight end got the touchdown. And I'm cheering because Josh Allen didn't get the touchdown. He gets 6 points. That's fantasy football.
Right.
So Josh Allen put up 23 points last night, where if he scored the touchdown, it had been 30 plus, which would have been hard for me to, even though I got Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts had a down week last week. He only had 11 points. So.
Yeah.
Last year, I picked him again this year, first round, because every week he put up 24 points consistently. So because of the tush push.
Yeah. Now they're going to watch it carefully. Okay.
Yeah, that's stupid. You know what? Why can't the other teams do the tush push? They're saying only Philly can do it. Then learn what they're doing and do it. You know, I don't get it.
I think they're superior the way they run it. I've said that the entire time, that they're superior the way they run it.
Don't forget, Kelsey was a center for a long time, and now they have a new center. You know,
right,
so he was able to fit. He was able to work right into it. So it's not the same players.
I think now here's, but the one against Kansas City, just watching it live, you can see they leave early. I'm like, my first thought was, well, that's getting called back, and there's no call. Then you watch the replay, like, whoa, they left really early. I mean, I think they've got to be watching for that, because I think everybody is so locked in on the defense, including the officials, especially after the comedy that Washington turned in last year at the end of the NFC Championship game, jumping off sides, flying over the top, all that stuff. That everybody's looking at the defense, and they're not looking at what Philadelphia's doing. They're on that play, the fourth down play, they left early, and in a game the Eagles won by 3. That may have ended up being a field goal and not a touchdown, and if that's the case, would have lost by 1.
Oh, well. How long they been doing the tush push?
3 years, Todd? That makes sense? 3 years makes sense. 4 years?
I was going to say, ever since Jalen Hurts took over, so like at least 3, I think.
Yeah.
So it's taken them 3 years to figure this out.
I mean, they're great at it. Nobody else is good at it. As I said, Buffalo tries to do it, and they've got a nice offensive line. They've got a really strong quarterback, and they can't run it. Philadelphia, meanwhile, has an incredibly strong quarterback, and their technique on it is just completely superior.
But Tom Brady used to do it all the time.
Brady was the best I ever saw at running a quarterback sneak. Now, this is a little bit different than that.
And what's the difference?
The push part of it.
Sneak, it's still
the push part of it.
You know,
the push part is the difference, because Brady, the rules were different then. You were not allowed to be pushed from behind. Now they've changed that rule, and that's when they call it the tush push. It's the push part and the back. That's right, and that's where. And see, this is where my definition of why I think it's a dangerous play is not on the sneak part of it. It's the fact that you're allowed to push in the back as an offensive player all over the field. So you've got open field plays where you'll see a lineman come up from behind and try and push the runner or the receiver ahead to get the first down. See, to me, that becomes a dangerous play.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and that's why
if you think about Philly,
I have to look at it.
You got Saquon Barkley, who squats between 650 and 700 pounds, and you got Jalen Hurts, who squats the same amount. That's quite a tush push. That's like 1,400 pounds of push.
Right.
You're right. The downfield one should be illegal. But when you're down on the goal line, hey, it's mano on mano. This is what we're going to do. Try and stop it.
Yeah, the open field one is one that I don't think you should be allowed to run in and push, because you're putting in all these rules about you can't blindside block, you can't block in the back, you can't crack back block, but you're going to allow the offensive lineman, because the guy carrying the ball doesn't see him, right? Yeah. But you're going to allow the offensive lineman or the tight end to run in and push the guy the rest of the way home. What's the difference? He can't see him either.
Very true. Yeah. Next thing you know, they'll be punching the ball out, their own ball, with another guy catching it on the other side.
Oh, yeah, I know.
What a play.
Yeah, I know. But that to me is the dangerous part. It's the open field one where you have to take a long, hard look at.
Well, that was what they were talking about at the beginning of the year before the NFL meetings. Was the downfield one was the one that they were really concerned about.
And they should be, because to me,
and they didn't do anything about it. They just left it. So
yeah, because I don't think they know how to word the rule in such a way that keeps the quarterback sneak part in it.
How about you can only do it behind the line of scrimmage? That's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, but you can push from behind the line of scrimmage too in the open field because the screens are run.
Yeah, I know. You can't do that. I'm just saying you can only do it. I mean, once it's a scrum, it doesn't matter, but you can only make contact with the other guy if he's behind the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And you cannot do it on a screen. You can only do it on a goal line stand. That's it. That's not hard to word, right?
Yeah, and we'll see if people vote for it or not. Because, I mean, the majority of the league is voting against the Eagles. But the difference is they can't get 75.
They won the Super Bowl.
Right. But the reason it's still legal is they can't get 75% of the league to vote against the Eagles. They're getting the majority.
Part of the problem is because everybody can do it. Nobody's stopping the other team from doing it.
Yeah,
they just cannot do it.
They can't execute it.
Figured out how to do it and do it well. So.
Yeah, they can't execute it, and that's a big part of it. But at the same time, like, I do want the officials to watch both sides of the line of scrimmage. That's why you got a linesman on each side of the field, right? To see if the defense is moving because of the threat of it, but is the offense moving before the snap? And the Eagles against Kansas City clearly, I mean, I'm talking like no dispute, clearly moved before the snap. It was a penalty.
Well, I got 6 fantasy points for it, so I don't care.
See, that's that. In the end, that is all that matters.
Exactly.
6 fantasy points. You know how they got it does not matter. Does not matter. Oh, good.
What do you guys think's the best team this year?
Jeez, I think September is almost an impossible time.
Yeah, but it's telltale.
I mean, Philadelphia obviously I think is terrific. I think Buffalo's off to a good start. I think eventually Buffalo's going to be really good. I think Green Bay's intriguing.
Green Bay's very good.
Let's see. I think
Ravens.
Well, I mentioned Baltimore already. I think they're really good. I think the Chargers bear watching. How about that?
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing, but I hate to give Jim Harbaugh any credit whatsoever.
He speaks highly of you. But no, I mean, look, as a pro coach, he's always been a good pro coach, and he
was a good player too. So.
And the other part is this: he made a smart move picking the Chargers because he walked in with a ready-made NFL level quarterback. That did not hurt what he's doing there. You know, he can implement his running game and so forth, but he's already got the guy that can throw the ball, and that makes a big difference. And Tampa is interesting, and Tampa is a good example of why panic always fails in sports, and that is Baker Mayfield. I was always confused why the Cleveland Browns got rid of Baker Mayfield. They panicked, right? And look at it. It turns out he's actually continues to be a decent quarterback. I mean, remember, Mayfield did get the Browns into the playoffs and won a playoff game with them. And a couple things go wrong, and they panic as an organization, which they're famous for. And they continue to circle a fogged-in airport, which they're famous for.
Bill Belichick, you said if he cut you out of the Patriots, he'd trade you to Cleveland.
Oh, I know. I always loved it.
Like a penalty, he'd send the player to Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. No, that happened over and over again. Out of nowhere, the guys at Cleveland Brown like, hey, we got this guy from the Patriots. That's because Belichick didn't want him. Oh, that happened all the time. Jeez.
Oh,
what, 7, 8 different times it happened where he just got rid of, you're traded to Cleveland. It's like it's the only phone number he had.
It was funny.
It's the only phone number he has. Unreal. Well, have a great weekend. Good luck with your fantasy team.
Oh, boy. I'm not made up to play that. I get too worked up. My wife looks at me and says, "Why are you on your phone all day? You're never on your phone." I said, "Football." That's it.
Yeah.
I got to follow my team.
There you go. Well, enjoy it. Have a great one.
All right. Have a good weekend, guys.
We will.
See you, sir.
All right.
Todd, have a great weekend.
You too. You enjoy your weekend off, my friend.
I am going to enjoy my weekend off. I'd also like to give a shout-out to our good friends at Pure Later who will be escorting the suit into Thompson Street Stadium tonight where he is not beloved.
Hopefully they give him a helmet.
Would he wear it? See, my concern is they give him a helmet and he goes over to the concession stand and loads it up with snacks.
Well, I wouldn't encourage him.
Feel like I've been giving him ideas now. Well, that should be a good one tonight. Shikellamy, Jersey Shore, Selinsgrove, Williamsport. You can see him on the YouTube channels tonight.